Dave Bossie. Dave Bossie's on the line. Dave, a couple things about Dave. Deputy campaign manager for the successful Trump for President general election victory. Dave, also the co-author of 2 bestsellers. Got to buy them on Amazon or just go to my website, johnfredericksradio.com. You can buy them there. They're listed. Let Trump Be Trump and Trump's Enemies. And now co-author of the hottest podcast in America, Deep in the Swamp. You can get that. Just go to Rough Media and get Deep in the Swamp. It's on a variety of platforms. Comes out on Thursdays. Hottest podcast in America. Dave, good to have you.
Hey, John. Good morning.
Dave, lots going on right now. We've got a vote in the Senate coming up today where the president's national emergency looks like they've got enough Republicans to pass that, basically a rebuke of the president. But we've had so many scholars come on and say he's got the legal authority to do that. It goes back to the 1976 National Emergencies Act. What do you make of this, Dave?
You know, it's just it's so unimportant, to be honest with you, John. The president has already taken his action. The Senate's going to have a vote that doesn't matter because the president's going to veto it,
right?
And it literally will be unimportant tomorrow,
right?
Because the president's has taken his action. He's going to build this wall, and they're going to, the Democrats, the left, can try to take him to court. We'll see him at the United States Supreme Court, and I think he wins there, just like he did on the travel ban and other issues.
Dave, I can't believe you just said that because I've been saying that on my show here for 3 days. And but I tell you, the White House is making a huge effort PR-wise to keep putting this out. And I have the same position that you have. It's a symbolic, meaningless vote. Who cares what, Susan Collins votes no, and that makes her happy going back to Maine this weekend. Who the hell cares? Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, right?
It literally doesn't matter. And we have votes like this all the time, where some of the Republicans are in states that Democrats win routinely, and these are the folks that thread the needle, as they say. So we are seeing some of these Republicans, that might vote today the wrong way, that are voting in their minds to help them in their reelection of 2020. Mm-hmm. And because President Trump probably doesn't carry Maine, right, in 2020. So she is going to take a vote that is helpful to her reelection, but not to the president's agenda. That happens every day. It happens on tax votes. It happens on foreign policy, on economic. You name the vote in the House or in the Senate, and that's what these folks do.
Right.
They thread the needle for themselves. So all I'm saying is, yes, there's going to be a vote. Yes, the president will not appreciate some of these Republicans voting against him. But at the end of the day, he's going to veto this bill, and it's not going to matter.
I tell you the other thing, Dave. I'm a fan of Susan Collins. Everybody knows that. I sing her praises on my show all the time. And I'm so glad you said that because at the end of the day, this vote for Susan Collins might help her at home. Good luck for her. Who cares? But in the 2 most important votes the president had in his first 2 years in office, which was the Trump tax cut and Brett Kavanaugh, Susan Collins was there for President Trump. And that's what matters, Dave.
Right, and let's not look. I'm not the biggest Susan Collins fan, so I'm the opposite. But however, we need Susan Collins in the United States Senate more than we need another Bernie Sanders.
Right.
So and we need her to be part of a majority. And to your point on the tax vote and on Kavanaugh, she was a difference maker,
yes,
especially on Kavanaugh. So look, I'm not her biggest fan over her career, but she has. I'd much rather have her in the Senate than a socialist, which is what we're going to get if she doesn't win re-election. So, one vote, it's not going to make me support her or support her less. With this vote today, it's just not going to happen. We need her to get reelected. That's a fact. And the president's not going to be campaigning in her state very much. I don't foresee that. But, and she's not the only one. There's going to be several others. I don't know how some of these senators are voting today. We won't know until they vote. But, some of these states are very difficult for the president to win in 2020, but they can win their reelection. So I think there's going to be some balance here today and over the next week. And I just think we're going to get through this, and it's not the end of the world.
We're with Dave Bossie, former deputy campaign manager for the general election Trump for President campaign, author of Trump's Enemies, Let Trump Be Trump, and now they got the hottest podcast out in America. This thing is really hot, man. You got to check it out. It's called Deep in the Swamp. Comes out on Thursdays. You can go to roughrider.media. You can find it there or any podcast platform. It also airs on the John Fredericks Radio Network Saturdays and Sundays at 11 a.m. So if you don't want to do the podcast thing, you can just tune us in then or go to WJFNradio.com, and it plays there. Great podcast, best one out there. Dave, let's get to politics. Robert Francis Beto O'Rourke getting in the race today. And you look at his accomplishments. Let's see. He got beat by Ted Cruz. He raised millions of dollars. Okay, that's an accomplishment, I guess, if you lose. But he never passed anything, and he's never done anything. And he didn't really have a job. He went to New York, and he played in some bands and stuff. What's the deal with this guy?
Yeah, you nailed it. He's a zero. He is not in any way, shape, or form going to be a mover and shaker in this race. He's doing this for the future and for his future, and that's just the way it is. So I'm not. I can be honest with you. I'm not. This is being the 14th, 15th, 16th person in this race. He's going to be an afterthought. When it comes to next year, I just don't see a loser. Look, it's just like the woman in Georgia, the other day saying she might run. Losers, even though the Democrat Party is full of them, as far as their candidates are concerned, that doesn't get the American people all revved up for you to when you lose a statewide race in Georgia or in Texas to say, oh, that's a perfect person to run for president of the United States. It's just not going to work out well for these folks. I do think that they're going to run. They're going to make a name for themselves for the future because they both are very young and potentially have a future. But, 2019 and 2020 are going to be very difficult years for candidates like them.
I don't see his candidacy. I mean, normally you run for president, you have to have some accomplishment, right? I mean, even like Bernie Sanders.
He did win a congressional race.
So
if you think that being a congressman for one term, gives you the cred and the ability to be president of the United States, you know what? Arrogance is an amazing trait, and so I think that if arrogance is your number one characteristic, then we'll see how the American people, how Democrat primary voters react to it.
Dave Bossie, I predicted that Bernie Sanders is going to be the nominee. As you know, I predicted Trump before he even got in the race in April 2015. I don't see how you're going to beat Bernie Sanders. He's going to finish first or second in Iowa. I think he wins it. Last time he really won Iowa, they stole it from him on a number of coin tosses. And he's going to win New Hampshire, and then somebody's got to start beating the guy in the Midwest. I think he's going to be the nominee. Do you have a prediction?
No, John. I don't do predictions, but I do. I look at the Democratic primary, much like the March Madness brackets that we're about to everybody get into here, and that is to say that you're going to have the Bernie Sanders wing of the Democrat Party, supporting him. If Uncle Joe Biden gets in, you're going to have, folks who look like they're a little bit more from the moderate wing of the party, supporting him. And then it'll come down to potentially a young, energetic star of the party, and you're going to see a host of people, try to pick up that mantle, and then you're going to potentially see, one of the many, quality female candidates that they have in their party, you're going to see one of them emerge, I think. So it's going to go from the 14, 15, 16 down to 3 or 4, and then they'll get their nominee out of that. Look, I want everyone listening to donate to Bernie Sanders because if we could get Bernie Sanders to be the nominee, Donald Trump's going to be reelected in 2020, and that's so that's why the Democrats are not just going to give it to him. They're going to be very worried about that race. Bernie Sanders is not a quality general election candidate, and so I think we're gonna see a long drawn out battle here.
Now, did they? The Democrats got rid of the superdelegates for the most part.
They did,
right? So they're gone. So yeah. I mean, it's like
they're gone.
It's the grassroots now rules. Because look, if it hadn't been for the superdelegates, Bernie would have been the nominee last time, right, Dave?
Correct.
Right.
That's exactly right.
So they got rid of the superdelegates, and just for history, so everybody knows, the Democratic Party put the superdelegates in their meeting in 1974 after the George McGovern debacle in 72. And basically what their thought process was, if we're going to have another crazy nominee that can't win a single state, we got to get rid of that. So we're going to put the adults in the room. So that was the genesis of the superdelegates, but now it's really backfired on them.
And John, we're going to see them do the 2020 cycle without them. If I do predictions, my predictions it will be that the superdelegates will be back in 2024 because they're going to get routed with some left-wing lunatic that is going to try and out socialist. The furthest left candidate in the pack.
Right.
And look, if this Ocasio-Cortez was age eligible, they'd be nominating her. And so, it's literally they seem to be unhinged. But I want to just fan that flame. We want to continue to support, and I'm going to continue to support Operation Chaos, which is what in my mind it is, which is, making the Democratic nomination process play out as long and as ugly as possible.
Make Bernie Sanders great again. Here's the thing: if you send him $25, even though that's going to be painful, you help him become the nominee. The other thing you do is then you'll get 80 bajillion emails from Bernie Sanders asking for more money every other day, so you'll be able to keep up with everything he's doing, right? So that's all good. Dave, we're out of time. Your new podcast coming up this week. What's the topic?
Well, we're going to cover, obviously we have Manafort to deal with, the sentencing today or yesterday with his second sentencing in a week. We have today's vote on the national emergency in the Senate. We have the Robert O'Rourke getting in the race. We're going to be discussing a lot of politics today, so look forward to it.
Well, Manafort broke a lot of laws. I'm not a fan, as you know, Dave. He's kind of a bad guy.
Me either.
Yeah. Well, I know you're not, and Corey's not. But I got to go, Dave. I'm out of time. Dave Bossie, go to